Welcome to the midweek edition of the Cats Pod. This is going to be our pick'em pod for this week because for some reason on Saturday we decided we were just going to not do picks. Is that what happened, Derek, or was it a little bit flagrant last time?
I think we were just super excited, man. We got back on track and we just forgot about it.
We got so excited about one win that we were like, the rest of the Big Sky Conference no longer exists.
Yeah,
Why would we even worry about them?
We don't care about those guys.
No, we don't care. Those little guys? We don't care about those little
Nah,
guys.
it's garbage anyway.
All right.
Especially what happened in Missouri.
But that was garbage. That was such a trash game, especially I wasn't really paying attention to it because we had just gotten done recording and then I went back up to that Halloween party. So the game was on, but I wasn't watching it really at all. And once you told me that they took out their quarterback after like the first series, I was like, of course this was a joke of a game.
Yeah, and it wasn't even just that, man. It was they threw the ball and they threw the ball and they threw the ball, and those guys were open, ball hitting them in the hands, and Sac State just dropped everything. Even their star players, they were dropping passes like I've never seen before. I mean, they just played terrible, and the ejection from both sides got that. Every player on every team got as unsportsmanlike. Well, the one kid from Sac State gets ejected, and I think they just.
Unsportsmanlike conduct is normal in Missoula. Washington Grizzly, that's what you expect. They're just going to be unsportsmanlike.
It's most specifically a Bobby Houck coach team.
A Bobby Houck coach team for sure.
Yeah.
It seemed like a weird score that ended up with that game that I was not foreseeing anything like that, and there must have been some kind of shenanigans. I'm kind of thinking we need to start a campaign to check the away team balls at Washington Grizzly because there was a lot of drop passes, and I think somebody might have been rubbing down the balls with grease or something on the sideline.
Are you claiming Deflategate?
I think it's Greasegate. It's Greasy Gate 1.0.
Well, we
Washington
all know
Grizzly Stadium.
Missoula's no stranger to shenanigans and
internal investigations and external investigations. No, they are not. They're not really out of that.
Exactly.
No. All right. So we'll go into the picks for the games for this week. I'm just going to start at the bottom of our list here so we can end on the Cats. And the first one is Montana versus Portland State.
And you know who I'm going with. Portland State. Come on, boys.
You're going with Portland State?
I'm not. I told you a couple weeks ago, I'm never picking the Grizzlies, ever.
Just not. Okay.
Fact of the matter.
This is a very biased podcast.
Dante Chachere
is
he's gonna run for 2 scores and 200 yards, and he's gonna pass for 150 and another one.
Another touchdown. 3 touchdowns for Chachere. You can lock it in. Hopefully there's some kind of prop bet there. I doubt there's going to be because Montana Sportsbet is up to their shenanigans again.
There is a bit of satire there, so don't go spending your money on what I just said, please. And if you do and it doesn't hit, you can blame Ben. Not
exactly. Me. Blame me every time. The cursed one. So we got Portland State pulling up the major upset against Montana. Is this game? It's at Portland State.
It is.
So Portland State had a really good environment for their game.
Yeah.
It seemed like the fan section that they had, like the student section, they were going pretty crazy at that game, and they definitely have pulled in a lot more fans than they had in the past.
Better than previous years for them for sure. They do have the ability to score points. The rest of the team, it will be. Who knows? The Grizzlies are playing pretty good football. But at the end of the day, all I want is a Portland State win. Exactly. So I'm going to go with them.
Mm-hmm. Vikings, horns up.
Yes.
Horns up for the Vikings. Horns on those helmets, point them directly up.
They're going to be tossing battle axes at Grizzly Bears, which is something I can get behind.
I feel like Vikings normally do wear a grizzly bear as clothing. So it would be a good time for them to show that off.
Yeah. Let's go get Monty.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to skin him down and turn him into a coat here.
We're going to skin Have you ever seen a skinned bear? No? It's pretty scary. For some reason, a skinned bear looks exactly like a human being. I went to a house party one time when I was in college, and I went out to the garage to meet up with the guys, and they had a bear skinned hanging in their garage. And for about 5 whole seconds, I thought about sprinting as fast as I could away from that house because I thought they had a human being hanging in their garage. And that's what's going to happen to the Grizzlies this weekend is what we're saying. I'm really glad we don't have to stay up late to record about that game because we don't need another 1:00 recording session. We got a little bit too wild on that one.
Things were getting a little weird. Let's be honest.
It got a little bit weird on that one. All right, our next one is UC Davis versus Idaho State. Now this is a tough one. I should have picked the first game because how am I supposed to pick this one now? Because the Bengals just completely betrayed me last week.
They did.
They just really did me dirty in all the worst ways. And I really don't want to pick them again. UC Davis has been doing pretty well over the last few weeks, I want to say.
I mean, they're still 2-3 in their Big Sky Conference.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's two teams that try really hard, but just can't seem to get it right.
UC Davis did have an impressive win against Portland State last week.
They did.
It was a 2-score win. It was a good one. They lost to NAU, which we made look very pedestrian, but we've made a lot of teams look very pedestrian this year.
But NAU did beat the Grizzlies, so.
NAU did beat the Grizzlies, you know. The Grizzlies make bad teams look good. Let's just say that. Throughout the season they have. They've made good teams look bad and bad teams look good. So I don't really know what to think about them.
It's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
What do you think? Who's your pick?
I'm going to give UC Davis on this one. I feel like UC Davis is probably one of the strongest teams that's not getting as much respect out of the top 25 for the Big Sky. I think they're still ranked right now. If I checked right last time.
No, I don't think so.
No, did they drop off the rankings?
Yeah.
Well, they're off the rankings now, so they've got some real bulletin board material going on. You know, they're ready to just make a comeback right now. They're ready to have a statement win against Idaho State, which I don't know if you can call a win against Idaho State a statement win, but we're just going to say UC Davis is going to win this thing.
Yeah, I agree. Mm-hmm. I'm not super confident on that, but I think UC Davis stands a chance.
Mm-hmm. All right, the next one is Cal Poly versus Sac State.
I'm pretty sure this is going to be a get-right game for Sac State. I just can't imagine Cal Poly can muster anything really against Sac State. Sac State they got exposed and embarrassed, a flat-out embarrassment.
Mm-hmm.
I think
no part of the game looked good for them.
No,
like defensively, offensively, it just looked bad.
I think that's how it's going to go.
So you're saying it's definitely a Cal Poly game for them? Cal Poly's the pick?
No.
We were just talking about how bad Sac State looks, you know?
They look bad, but I just don't think that Sac State is going to let that happen again 2 weeks in a row. No way. They're a better team than what they showed in Missoula. Mm-hmm. Sac State's going to beat Cal Poly.
Okay, I was hoping that's the way you were going to go. Because, I mean, with the last weekend, it's hard to make any of these picks. Because last weekend across the FCS and across pretty much all of football was a pretty crazy weekend in general.
It was.
It was super hard to pick any game in particular, and everything was pretty much going the opposite of what we thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
But I would say Sac State, that's pretty confident over Cal Poly.
Yeah.
Unless there's some kind of injury issue with that quarterback.
I didn't look into it really, but even without him, I think that Sac State should be able to handle Cal Poly.
Yeah. They did not look impressive at all.
No.
Next one is Northern Colorado versus Northern Arizona. So it's the Battle of the North. You know? Just the north side is taking over for this one. I think you have to I know there's going to be 1 week where Northern Colorado is going to pull something off. It's very few times where a team goes defeated the entire season. You know, most teams have enough pride to overcome that. I just don't think Northern Arizona is that team. What do you think?
I agree. There's no way Northern Colorado beats Northern Arizona. I don't
think they drop this because the Lumberjacks, they have looked very strong at times during the season. And Northern Colorado has had a couple of close games. They're not by any means a pushover, but it's not enough to where I would want to actually pick them over the Lumberjacks.
Where is that game? Is it?
It is in northern Arizona.
Yeah, Northern Arizona is going to win this game. They're a strong team at home. I would be floored if Northern Colorado upsets them. I mean, they did hang in pretty tough with Idaho for most of that game.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's just the kind of team they are.
Yeah.
They can run. They're a solid team. They just don't have the gas in the tank to get all the way through.
No, they can't stick with any team so far this year, but they do put up a solid fight in every single game, and they do deserve some respect for that. I think they're just better than 0-9, but it's like where do you find confidence in them to win a game like this? So it has to be Northern Arizona.
Yeah.
All right, the next one is Idaho versus Weber State.
Definitely Idaho. Well, Weber State is pretty pedestrian team. I really don't see any way Idaho stubs their toe. I mean, for our sake, cross your fingers.
It would be
Idaho
awesome if
loses,
they
we
picked it up.
win.
Yeah.
That would be really good.
There's a lot of occasions like this where we would be very happy to be wrong on these picks.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think this is a pretty easy Idaho.
Yeah. Idaho's probably going to keep it together. They're playing at Weber State, but it still seems like a game where the Vandals are going to show exactly how strong they have been the entire season.
Yep, I agree.
And they're probably getting ready to make a run right now, just trying to get ready for the playoffs. So, like every team in the Big Sky is.
Yep. And all they have to do is win out and hope the Cats beat the Grizzlies in Missoula, and they lock on.
That would be major for them. They're probably Montana State fans for the rest of the season.
I think so.
All right, and our final Big Sky game of the week is Montana State versus Eastern Washington. What is Eastern Washington? What's their mascot? Who are these people?
Are you?
Where are they from?
Eastern Washington.
Oh, no. So that's not by the coast.
No.
Is that? Oh, okay. Oh, oh wait. Oh, okay. Yeah, Eastern Washington. Yeah. The Igles. The Igles.
Yeah.
Okay. I would like to say that Montana State is going to beat the Eagles, the Eastern Washington Eagles, by at least a little bit, by minimum a little bit.
This seems like a good segue into the point spread and everything on this game. They say, this is what the sports book thinks is going to happen.
Yeah.
The money line for this game is minus 1,250 right on Wednesday night. It could change, but minus 1,250 is an extreme confidence in the Cats winning. But the point spread is only 18.5.
I know. I just don't know how they build these lines.
That's
I don't know how they make any sense whatsoever, because it's 12.5 to 1 basically with a minus 1250, and then you have a 3-score game. Yeah, a 3-score game.
I mean, it just doesn't, to have that drastic of a favoritism for a team to win, but then to say, oh, but it's actually going to be one of Montana State's closest games all year.
But it's weird because minus 1250 is not a close game. That's like a silly line that we see in like a really bad MMA fight.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them I've seen as far as like minus 4,000, but in most cases, that is an insane level that you are considered above that team, which we are far above what Eastern Washington is right now, but it's still tough to even justify betting those things.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're going to bet for the Cats to win, but at that point, you got to put up like $100,000 to make any money.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to have plenty of cash to bet with.
Yeah, and then the over-under is 67.5 points. So what they're saying is there's basically no chance Montana State wins or loses, but it's going to be close. But it's also going to be 60.
I mean, close-ish, because it's still an 18-point spread.
Yeah, but that's the thing.
That's a pretty huge spread.
I mean, it is. And
we're used to seeing 33 or 27, but 18 is still pretty big.
Yeah, it's just I mean, Northern Arizona, I would have considered a bigger threat probably than Eastern Washington. Yet it was a bigger point spread. It was
Yeah.
20. It was 28 and a half.
27 and a half,
27
and
and a
then it
half.
moved to 24 and a half.
Yeah.
And I still lost. Trust me, I remember what that point spread is. You don't have to remind me about my half-point loss, but I'm pretty sure that's just what you were going for there.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a strange line, honestly. Yeah. I haven't decided what my picks are going to be for this week yet, but I think that it just seems weird to me to have one of our lowest point spreads of the year be against Eastern Washington.
Yeah. That is definitely pretty odd. I mean, yeah, it's outside of Idaho. That would be the lowest one of the year. Even against Sac State, what was it? Sac State, I felt like we had 22 or 20 or something like that. I can't remember what it was, but it was a pretty hefty point spread because we just barely hit it at the end, I feel like.
I think that one was 11 and a half.
11 and a half? Okay.
So we had that one in Idaho.
Yep.
And South Dakota State.
Yep.
Were lower.
Yeah.
All the rest
near 30.
Right.
Yeah, it's been pretty crazy. Another thing that I've been noticing across kind of a lot of these Big Sky teams is the yards per carry that a lot of these running backs are getting. Because I was thinking, we're looking at like Julius Davis, who was before last game he was averaging 7.2. Now he's averaging 7 yards a carry, which is a huge amount for any carries. But then I look at the leading rusher for Eastern Washington, Justice Jackson. Shout out to a great name, Justice Jackson. I can approve of that. This junior running back they have, he's got 6.4 yards per rush.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Like, that's pretty strong. And then you go over and you look at Montana's leading rusher, who is a freshman, Eli Gilman, and he's averaging 5.9. Is there just terrible rush defense across the Big Sky?
I mean, I think it must be. I mean, teams are finding success running the ball.
Yeah.
And obviously, they're being creative. How they run the ball, it's not just straight downhill 24/7. They're doing different things, quarterbacks and running backs and jet sweep, whatever they're scheming up.
Yeah.
It seems to be working. Now, there is a very drastic difference in rushing just in general for these two teams. The Montana State is still, I mean, the
number 2 in the country.
Yeah.
For rush yards. Number 3 for offense overall. They were a pretty dominant offensive team this year, and we're still 14th in the country in defense.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty balanced team in general. I mean, the defense is a little bit lower ranked, but we also get into a lot of fast games where they are on the field a ton.
I think another, to bring up the rushing defense stuff, Eastern Washington is giving up big time yards.
Yeah.
Before their previous game, they were, I don't have the numbers after that, but they were letting teams run for 219.6 yards per game.
That's pretty horrible.
That's just that's just average teams, not the number 2 rushing team in the country.
Yeah. Soon to be the number 1 again.
Yeah.
I'm guessing after this game. Because if you think about it, you put that defense up against all the rushers that we have on the Bobcats, it's going to be a slaughter. As far as offensively, it's going to come down to if that Eastern Washington quarterback and if their running back are as potent as their stats look like they are. Because they've been in a lot of shootouts this year because the other teams put up so many points.
And while we're on the rushing aspect of the football game, shame on Northern Arizona. Whichever player it was that spit in Julius Davis's face, shame on you.
Is that really happening?
That's why he was so mad, and that's why he flipped off the other team, is because somebody spit right in his face.
You don't mess with Julius Davis.
No, you don't spit on somebody.
You don't spit on somebody in general, but you don't mess with Julius Davis either.
Yeah, they brought the dog
You're
out.
just going to be hurt more. That is just bringing pain onto yourself if you mess with Julius Davis or anybody on the Bobcats.
Shame on Northern Arizona. And Julius, I hope you carry that energy all the way.
Now I don't feel bad at all about the phantom whistle. The phantom whistle was completely deserved if you're going out here and spitting on somebody.
I think so too.
That's terrible.
That phantom whistle, man, I'm so sick of hearing, oh, they would have scored. And it's like, well, it's still called off half the Bobcats too. Like they stopped the play too. Like they would have had a good
going.
They would have had a good play.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt about that had the whistle not happened. But the whistle still called off half of the Bobcats defense.
Yeah.
They just stopped moving.
Yeah. They weren't going to keep going after it because they actually heard the whistle and they actually are a classy team. Yeah. They're classy individuals and they're not going to do stupid stuff.
Yeah. They're not going to go hit somebody after a whistle like a Bobby Haupt coach team would.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, not going to get kicked out of a game because of that. No targeting calls. Yeah. I don't think this year. Have we gotten any? We got one.
Yeah, we got
Nolan. Two. No, Nolan Askelson. What was the other one?
McCabe.
Oh, yeah.
O'Reilly.
That was pretty early in the season.
That was a few games ago.
Yeah.
I think it was the game before Sac State or something like that, or maybe 2 games before Sac State. But yeah, man, I just don't see Eastern Washington. They played North Dakota State, who you can say is good or not. I mean, the jury's out, I suppose. I mean, they're the worst team in the Dakotas. They beat them pretty bad.
Yeah.
But everyone else on their schedule, they seem to have hung pretty tight with for the most part. They put quite a few points on Idaho.
Yeah.
But I still don't think they've faced quite the defense that the Cats have.
No.
So
not at all.
I have a hard time believing they're going to go out there and come close to their averages. I think they're going to come out, they're going to get behind early, they're just going to start chucking the ball, which it seems like they have a fairly good passing attack.
Yeah.
But
their quarterback puts up a decent stat line. I think when I was looking at it before, he's got 135.9 quarterback rating.
Yeah.
He passes the ball, completion rating 65.7%. He's a solid quarterback in general, but also he hasn't faced the front four of the B line. You know, the killer bees out in front. He hasn't faced anything like that. Once you have Seabass, and once you have Ben Seymour, and once you have Brody Grebe, and once you have all of those guys breathing down your neck, you're not going to make those decisions.
Exactly. It's going to be so tough for them to really avoid the pressure just with how those guys have been playing. And I'm pretty sure I haven't heard anything about nobody not playing.
I haven't heard anything updated on injury stuff. Maybe Pickering won't be in for this game just because he wasn't suited up for the second half.
It sounds
but that's still kind of touch and go, I feel like.
Last I heard was a potential, they weren't really sure whether it was a minor ankle sprain or a high ankle.
Yeah. So either like 4 to 6 weeks or 2 to 4 weeks.
He just questionable. I mean, there is a chance he could play, but I honestly, sometimes the Cats are pretty quiet with their injuries. I did hear that the rumor is hamstring on Snell.
Oh, okay.
That's a rumor. Don't hold me to it, but sounds like it's fairly painful. Yeah. So we might not see him for a while.
Yeah.
Danny Yu, I heard there's a possibility of cat grits. Possibility.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
We would love to have that guy back on the field for that game for sure.
Yeah. I will say, just with the depth of the defensive line, even the backups, they were all over the place. I mean, I just don't know that Eastern Washington has faced quite as an aggressive defense, and this is a defense that doesn't blitz very often, but they still generate lots of pressure on the quarterback.
They don't have to blitz.
No.
Yeah.
No.
And the secondaries looked really strong too. I mean, we got an interception last week. A lot of passes batted down or a lot just thrown out of bounds due to pressure and coverage going on out there in the secondary. So it seems like these quarterbacks are looking for options, and I don't know if Eastern Washington's going to find many out there.
No.
Especially when your leading receiver, his name is Elfton Chisholm III. I don't want to go after Efton Chisholm III too much, but that is just a name that it is really hard for me not to make fun of. It's really, really hard. And since I want to make fun of him so bad, I feel like he's going to turn into like the next Cooper Cup, just because I'm gonna want to make fun of his name so bad.
No, I don't know. But I like I said, I just don't see honestly, I think the Cats win and cover.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that they could probably put some points up so the over doesn't scare me too bad.
No. Yeah, every game that Eastern Washington has gone into this year has been a boat race.
Yeah.
They've been running and trying to chase after leads the entire year.
Yeah.
So I could see that happening, and I could see them putting points up, especially if we go into like prevent defense or something like that.
Yeah. And it looks like they've been averaging over 30 points a game.
Yeah.
So, if that's the case, if they hit their average or right around it, Cats put up 40, which seems to be fairly common for them against lesser teams.
Mm-hmm.
There's your over.
There it is.
Yeah.
Over at 67.5, right?
Yeah, we're looking for a 28-40 game.
That would be that would be spectacular. 28. We'll go 28-48.
Oh, 20,
so
yeah,
we can beat them by 48.
Yeah.
28-48, and we're good to go.
Yep.
That would be perfect. That would be a beautiful way to finish this off. Should we look at the national rankings real quick? See, we did have some movement there.
Yeah. I honestly don't have too many. I don't have a lot of gripes with the rankings this week. The coaches poll and the stats poll are super similar.
No.
South Dakota State moved up to number 6, or South Dakota moved up to number 6.
Yep.
And that's quite the hefty jump for not beating it. I think they won 14-7.
Was it that close? It probably was.
It was, yeah. It was 14-7. But I think that has more to do with other teams losing than them having a real statement victory.
Yeah, because Delaware was going to drop because of their loss.
Yeah.
And that really kind of messed with a lot of it. Furman just stays winning off of other people losing.
Yeah.
That is the only way that they've been moving up the rankings all year. And Furman is quickly turning into my second least favorite team, for sure.
Yeah.
It goes the Grizzlies, and then it goes the Furman, whatever they are.
And then the other strange thing to me is that North Dakota State is still right there.
Yeah, they drop back to 13. Yeah, they're still pretty far up there for a 3-loss team. I mean, they're the third-ranked 3-loss team out there. They're behind Sac State and North Dakota as far as the national rankings are going there.
Yeah, it just seems like a team like North Dakota State rides on their pedigree, basically. What they've done for a long time is keeping them up there, because I can guarantee you, if you have a Big Sky team with 3 conference losses, they're going to take way more of a beating than North Dakota State has.
There's no... Well, I don't know if is there any 3-loss teams in the Big Sky right now? That would be which level?
Well, there's definitely no 3-loss teams ranked.
No, it's Sac State. Sac State is the 3-loss team that we have right now.
Oh, and that's right. And that was my other gripe, was Sac State got embarrassed and fell to
from 7 to 11.
That is such a small drop for getting blown out.
Yeah. Getting pretty tarnished by a team. Do you think Furman is the Werewolves?
I have no idea.
Are they the Furman?
The Furman.
The Furman.
Furman. It's like a hair product.
It is, Furman for men.
You get a little gray, you
just
need some
for
Furman.
Men, supported to you by Furman. So
Yeah.
It was, Delaware dropped like we expected. The Cats are in more of a realistic position this week than last week. There's not a whole lot to complain about, but just be thankful, I guess, that the coaches decided to pull their heads from outside of their rear ends, and then the press members just moved them up one spot. So, it's helpful, but it's hard to move anybody up any further when it comes to those top 5. just because a lot of it is based on the records themselves.
I mean, honestly, assuming there are no, assuming there are no upsets, Idaho wins, Montana State wins, and Furman should win. I
Mm-hmm.
would sure. I don't know who they're playing, but I would sure expect them to win.
Yeah.
I don't see any major movement until Cat Grizz. Cat Grizz can throw a stone into
Mm-hmm.
everything, and I could actually see if there's a blowout, whichever side at Cat Grizz, I could see them possibly jumping Furman.
I think Cat Grizz by far the Brawl of the Wild is the biggest game in the country in FCS for the remainder of the season.
I sure agree. I
By
mean,
far.
it's going to be a top 5 matchup.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be it has such huge implications on everything.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, if the Grizzlies lose, they're probably going to end up on South Dakota State's side.
Yeah.
That's going whichever team ends up over there. That's worst case scenario.
Yeah.
I mean, you do not want to be over there with those guys. But then if the Cats win and it's a close game or something like that, I don't know that you can jump Furman.
Unless they lose a game, it's hard to jump them.
I could see them jumping Idaho if you thump hard on Montana.
Yeah. It just depends on how whatever the committee does, whatever the committee thinks is going to matter a whole lot going into these playoffs. Because a lot of these teams are going to be, I mean, outside of the top three, everybody would be an at large bid,
Yeah.
right? So it's all up to the committee at that point. It's where people are going to be placed, where the seating is going to happen, what the committee thinks they saw in the footage. And I hate leaving stuff up to the committee. Like I hate leaving it up to the refs or leaving it up to the card at the end of a boxing match because you really never know what's going to happen.
Well, I think it's 8 auto bids,
Okay.
and then I think there's 8 at large.
But it's the
So
conference winners, right?
right.
Yeah.
Plus, because you could still have Idaho and Montana State get auto bids.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know enough about the playoff system and format and the
It's so
weird.
hard to gauge what it is because you look at like Montana last year and the seeding that they got going into the playoffs,
Yeah, and
and it
still
was a
got a
joke.
home game and all that.
Yeah.
So it it just so much depends on your audience and the money and all that weird stuff. But the number one thing is to not have to go to Brookings, South Dakota.
Yeah.
That's number one. Send us to South Carolina. I'll go snowbird out in South Carolina.
That
You
would
can
be
guarantee
completely
that.
fine. Yeah.
Send us back to Idaho.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter. I mean, we're not going to lose to Idaho again.
No,
No
there's no
way.
way.
I just can't see the Cats losing in Missoula.
That confident.
Just can't see it.
I mean, I'm fairly confident in this team. I feel really good things about this Bobcat team. I I mean, this is a little early getting into the Brawl of the Wild stuff. It is just 2 weeks away though. But the way the Grizz have played the last couple weeks has definitely taken my foot off the gas pedal a little bit. I'm very far away from the brake. I'm very far away from the brake. I'm not slowing down, but I'm just like I had the throttle all the way down, and the throttle is at like 90% now.
Yeah.
You know?
I just if you go at every aspect of the team, you have to give I mean, as Bobby Houck has the all-time winningest FCS coach or Big Sky
Yeah.
coach, but I still think Vegan's a better coach.
He seems like a way more creative coach, offensively and defensively.
He's created one heck of a culture within the locker room. I think the team likes him more than the Grizzlies like their coach.
Yeah.
The offense, when they stick to their game plan, the Idaho game aside,
Yeah.
can hang with everybody.
For sure.
I mean, we we took South Dakota State as close as they've been to losing in a couple of years.
Yeah. One toenail away.
Right. And Julius Davis, by far the better running back. He's better than anybody on that team put together as far as running backs go. And I'd stack up our receivers against theirs any day of the week. We have so much depth and young kids that are just starting to hit their, just starting to click. Jacob Trimble, he's clicking hard.
Taco's going to be coming back into it too. Taco's going to be coming back into full stride in these last couple games.
Yeah. I mean, it's honestly, our receiving core, not that we throw the ball a ton, but
there's so much talent out there.
There's
so much talent on the outside, so much talent on the inside. It's all over the place.
Yeah.
And when I was talking to Grizz fans last weekend, the major thing I was hearing about their offense, because I was thinking, since we don't get to watch the Grizz games that much, because usually they're going on at the same time, or we're recording during the Grizz games, we don't get to actually watch those. I was wondering if it was that new quarterback that they put in that was making the difference for their team. And what I was being told was it is more that they've leaned into their rushing game and it's the defense. And if the Grizz want to go rushing game for rushing game with the Bobcats, it is going to be a very sad day in Washington Grizzly for anybody wearing maroon.
Well, we have a better offensive line than they do. And our offensive line can handle their D line. Now, the thing that the Grizzlies do, they blitz a lot.
Yeah.
They blitz all the time, constantly sending random guys and everything. And honestly, blitzes are beatable. Blitzes have always been beatable. It's nothing new. But when you can rush 4, get to the quarterback, and still have 7 guys back there to control the pass, I'd take that all day long.
For sure.
I'm not pumping the brakes. I'm not taking my foot off. I'm still full throttle. I offered your future father-in-law 14 points, and he wouldn't
14
take it.
points still?
Yes.
They still won't take. I mean, these Grizz fans are still scared. They're still scared. They're fair weather fans. They run into a couple bobbles throughout the season, and all of a sudden they don't believe in their team
No
anymore.
confidence.
No confidence.
No confidence. No, I think there's a lot of Cat fans that are like, oh man, Grizz are looking pretty good. I'm getting a little nervous.
The 90s are creeping back
into
the back of everybody's
It's because
skull.
we've not that we've had a winning culture recently,
but
we've talked about it before where it's like you just got so used to losing.
Yeah.
And being, whether it was the 90s where it was bad,
yeah,
or the cardiac cats of the 2000s and even the 2010s and all that, where it was, the Cats were putting up 50 points a game, but the opposing team was putting up 51 points a game. And I think that is creeping back in and this is one of the better teams I've ever seen the Cats have from top to bottom.
Yeah.
And a balanced, strong offense with a balanced, strong defense. And I mean, we've had strong offenses and we've had very good defenses, but it's been very rare where they both just mesh.
Yeah, it doesn't happen at the same time very often for us.
Yeah. I'm confident in this team, and I'll live and die by my words right now. I'm confident that they win in Washington Grizzly. But I mean, we got time to discuss that after we beat the Eastern Washington.
I mean, a little
Igles.
Preview coming up for potentially next week at the midweek episode. We may be having a special Brawl of the Wild edition with a couple of Grizzly fans so that they can actually argue with us. That would be a great debate to have. I would look forward to that.
It would be fun because I just not really sure what leg they have to stand on other than we beat Idaho.
Yep, exactly. That's all we're going to hear the entire time. And I am so ready to absolutely dunk all over a couple of Grizz fans, whoever wants to decide to show up next week. It is going to be a very fun time for us.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be a very fun game to watch that weekend.
Yeah. And I'm hoping on our recap episode, we can get Donnie Toodle on.
Yeah.
Former Cat player and kind of visit with him about his thoughts too.
Yeah, it'd be great to get some alumni on there.
Yeah.
Thanks to all the podcasts out there. Thanks for listening. Thanks for all the subscriptions we've gotten over the last couple weeks. Thanks for following on Instagram. Thanks for giving us reviews on Spotify, Apple, Instagram, anywhere you can find us. It is very much appreciated. Shout out to Cecilia, the one person that commented on our last episode on Spotify. She said that we had she loved the overview, and then she just said interesting commentary, which I wasn't sure if that was a compliment or if that was some criticism. Like, what kind of interesting was it? In air quotes, what kind of interesting?
Hey, at least it wasn't boring.
It wasn't boring.
Terrible.
Exactly. It could have been a lot worse.
I'll take interesting.
I think I'm looking for the wrong things. I'm looking for the wrong thing. Thanks for everybody listening this week. We will catch you on Saturday after we have completely thumped the Eastern Washington. What are they called again?
The Igles.
The Eagles. The Eastern Washington Eagles.
Are they? They're not by the water.
No.
Oh, okay.
Oh, East. Okay, never eat soggy waffles. Okay, yeah. They're closer to us, not by the water. Okay. All right, thanks everybody.